No joke, I've restarted this video like 100 times already. I don't know how many times, but I really don't know how to start. Well, BTS has done a lot of unprecedented things, but one of the unprecedented the thing that they've done excuse me, is that even after 8 years they continue going up their career in terms of popularity and achievements. It's normal for K-pop boy groups and girl groups to actually start going down in terms of activity, in terms of popularity, in terms of success after 7 years, just because after 7 years you're kind of considered a singer in Korea already, and and so your change their perception of you is changing. You're not anymore young, and then there's the fans as well that are also growing up, so they're starting to think about their own life, and they leave behind that fandom culture. And then there's the contract renewal. Usually after 7 years, artists start to want to do something on their own instead of something that their company dictates, and so they renegotiate their contract, and it changes the course of their career. So there's a lot of things, and then there's a fast turnover of boy groups and girl groups. There's like thousands or maybe hundreds, I don't know, that's being launched on a yearly basis, and so it's very easy for fans to start to find someone new. But BTS is so different. Even after 8 years, they are still gaining popularity. They are still going up, and I thought that at some point they peaked, but I'm wrong. Obviously, they haven't reached the summit. And a lot of a lot of these new fans are actually from North America, Western fans, and many of them are reaching out to me. I appreciate that. Please continue to do so. Many of them are just reaching out just because they want to ask stuff about BTS and other K-pop or other Asian groups. They just want to find somebody they can talk with, but some of them are also asking for clarifications because they end up being very confused. I posted a video about the difference in the Western and Eastern way of supporting our artists, and some of them expressed very confusion. Some of them expressed confusion because they feel like whenever they go onto on Twitter, because BTS that's where they are most active aside from Weverse, they said that they expect to find something positive because that's what BTS is talking about. That's the message of BTS, love. But instead they find wars, fan wars, a lot of hate, people trying to destroy each other, and BTS as well. And to a certain degree, they do understand that that's, to be expected. When you become that popular, if you become that massive, there's going to be a lot of haters out there that will try and destroy you. But what puzzles them is that it's not just fans of other groups versus BTS, but also armies against each other. And so their primary question is, how do I process all of that? How do I deal with toxic fans, BTS fans against each other? What do I think of them, and how do I process all of that in my own army life, so to speak? So number one is that I concentrate on BTS. I'm an army because of BTS and not because of other armies. And here is the bottom line, that BTS is there, that their main message is love. Love yourself, speak yourself. They talk about hard work, they talk about respect, they forgive, they are compassionate, they help, they are generous. And so they are, and many other things. And so I concentrate on on the message that they have. I concentrate on their art because I've come to admire them primarily because they are great artists. And when I concentrate on that, it becomes easier for me to process and decide how I deal with all of these toxic armies or toxic fans of other groups, because I always just defer to what I think or how I think BTS is going to react. And I guess it's the same way, and it's not just BTS, of course, it's the same way for other things. Like, it's the best way for me to honor my parents is to live the values that they've tried to instill in me, right? So if I want to honor my parents, and if I want to prove that they are great parents, it has to show in me, because they parented me. So if I want to prove to the world they are great people and they are great parents, I live the values that they've instilled in me. So it's the same thing for any artist, especially for BTS. If I want to prove that I have actually listened to their artists, that I've actually appreciated and honored their artistry and their message, the best way to prove that is to live the values and the message that they are trying to deliver. And it's always a message of love, compassion, forgiveness, generosity, hard work, etc. And as I've said, once I do that, it's easier for me to process and decide how I would treat other fans and what I would think of them and how I would process all of it. Next is, by nature, I've always had the principle of putting the people that I love in the shoes of the people that is offending me or people that I don't like. There's this saying that you treat others the way you want yourself to be treated. But I'm going a step further, and I would always treat others the way I want others to treat my loved ones, because it's easy for me to ignore myself. I know me, so that's fine. If you hate, that's fine. You say something bad, you curse me, that's fine. I don't care. But when it's the people that I love, I become protective, and so I become more compassionate, because that's what and how I want them to be treated, even if they do something wrong. Even if my parents or my niece, whom I consider to be my daughter, even if they do something wrong, even if they are at fault, I want compassion. I don't necessarily, that's what I want. I want compassion. I want people to give them a chance, even if they are guilty of something. I want them to be given a day in court. And so it's now that I know that's how I want my loved ones to be treated, then that becomes my guiding principle on how I would treat others. So it's the same for BTS. How would, based on the message of BTS, how would they react to all of these people? And it's always compassion. That's how they always react. They never deliver a message of hate. They don't retaliate. It's always compassion. It's always just go on and do what you really love doing and ignore the rest. And so that's how I treat and think of other people. One thing I always remember is that it was really, so based on that principle, I find it easier to look at things from their point of view. And this is one fact that nobody can deny. More than anybody, it was really the ARMYs that took BTS to where they are now, especially the early supporters of ARMYs. They were the ones who painstakingly posted on Twitter, created all of those fan art, talk about BTS, translated their songs and their interviews that allowed international fans to understand who BTS is. And if you have been, and I acknowledge that if it wasn't for BTS, that BTS did something to garner such loyalty, and I will never take that away from them. But it doesn't change the fact that if it wasn't for this small number of ARMYs in the beginning devoted and sacrificed a lot of their time to push BTS forward, then you would understand why they are possessive. It's the same way when you have created something, or if you raised something, that be a pet or a child or an art. When you created something or when you help raise somebody, you become more possessive, you become more protective. And so you can't really blame them, because no other fandom has been able to push a group this far from Asia, not just from South Korea. And as I've said, granted that BTS wouldn't have been able to garner such loyalty and such admiration if it wasn't for the quality of the music and the artistry that they're putting out and the greatness of their message. And I will never take it away from them. But as I've said, from the point of view of these few ARMYs who started all of this, then it's easier for us to understand why they are that protective and possessive. It was them, nobody else. It was them that really pushed the popularity of BTS forward. So next to the artistry and the skills of BTS and the talents of BTS, it was ARMY. Now, for ARMYs who seems to not know the line between BTS as artists and as people, I have acknowledged that although they are irritating, unreasonable, obsessive, and they certainly need help, I they're also necessary. And it may be the marketer in me. I've been doing marketing for such a long time, and if there's one thing I know for sure is that publicity, good or bad, is still good publicity. So the noise that these people create, the devotion that these people have, it contributes to the 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 voice of BTS. It contributes to the noisier you are, then the more people that are going to hear what you have about to say. Not many are going to like what it is that you're saying, but they will hear it. And when you do it often enough, at some point somebody's going to realize what you're talking about. This possessiveness and obsessiveness is also a way to protect BTS, because it's not easy to come to the Western countries, not speak their language, not sing in their language, and garner such respect and popularity, because people and other media companies and other fans are realizing, holy crap, if I do something to insult BTS, then this possessive fans and obsessive fans are going to attack me. Then it makes them think twice. So it's a way of protectiveness. So I do acknowledge that they have something to consider, that they have something to contribute. It may not be something that I like, it may not be my cup of tea, but it is still necessary, because it's a way to be loud, so there's more people that will hear what you're saying, and a way to protect BTS. However, I've also learned to filter. I follow a lot of ARMYs on Twitter, and I read a lot of their blogs, and I watch a lot of their videos. But I try to follow and concentrate only those who have positive messages to deliver. So I follow a lot of solo stands of each member. But the minute I hear negativity that I can't handle, I unfollow. It's sort of a surrender. And believe it or not, a way for me to express my respect towards these people. I know these ARMYs. It's a surrender to the knowledge and to the knowledge that they're contributing something. But that something is not my cup of tea. It's not healthy for me, and so I leave them be in their space. I take them out of my space, and I leave them in their space. So there's the knowledge that they exist. I know that they're necessary, but I do not have to participate in that. There's also this question that was posted: why do BTS feel such gratitude, as if they owe ARMY so much? One of them actually mentioned that incident in the Grammys, when they lost the Grammys, and the initial reaction is that ARMY is going to be so sad about the whole thing. They feel like they should have been thinking about their own emotions and not the emotions of ARMYs. And I think that can be answered in the previous video that I have about the difference in the Western culture and Eastern culture, and how that affects how we treat our artists and how we treat other people. But I can't blame them for thinking that. I think to a certain degree, BTS themselves, there's nothing else to prove. Quite honestly, they don't have to prove anything anymore in terms of popularity, in terms of commercial success, and in terms of artistry. They're nothing to prove, absolutely nothing to prove. And if there's anything that they're doing right now, it is just their drive to succeed, and it's for the ARMYs. So I can't believe them. But on the other hand, I personally think that BTS, if you really observe closely, they have learned how to they have learned how to present everything they have on a professional side. Like, they would offer ARMYs everything on their professional life and their professional persona, but they have chosen to keep their personal lives private. There's been like several scandals, but there's nothing big. Many of them still don't reveal their family members, the faces of their family members. They're very, very careful in what they say about their family members and their family lives. They don't talk about their personal friends, you know, the friends that they have outside of BTS. And there's very, very few dating scandals. There's been a few, and you know who I'm talking about, but there's not a lot. Like for the level of popularity of BTS, this batch has been known to follow BTS closely all this time, and they couldn't catch BTS on a dating scandal. And I think it's they will only be able to hide that phase of their lives if they chose to do it that way, because there's just too many people who's trying to catch them, and so it is a conscious effort to keep that side of their life to themselves. And I think that's a sign of maturity. They know, themselves know where to draw the line. That from a professional point of view, they'll give everything. They'll be as transparent as possible, to the point that they've actually taken ARMY in the journey of creating Life Goes On, the entire album. That everything that they do professionally, it will always be about ARMY. They will always give it back to ARMY. But their personal lives remain private. And so I think that's healthy. They know where the line is, and they know they're drawing it. It's the fans, all these obsessive fans and toxic fans, that feel like they know BTS inside and out. And as I've said, again, I go back to that thinking that if that's how they make sense of everything, sure. You know, I don't have to be a part of it, but sure. Yeah, so just going back to BTS, so I think it's a sign of it's a healthy disposition. Personally, I think of ways to help them. I know I have a very small YouTube channel, but I try to just, you know, contribute in the way that I can, and that is to always talk about them on a higher level, or what I perceive to be a higher level. I would always concentrate on their art, their music. I rarely talk about, if at all, yeah, I don't really talk about their personal lives. It would always be in connection to their lives as artists. So in the hopes, I guess, it's in the hopes that other people, or like the fans that are reaching out to me, other people will see BTS and realize, oh, okay, it's not just about this fandom. They're the obsessive fans. I'm not saying all ARMYs are obsessive, of course they're not. And it's not just about their glamorous look or their funny personality, but there's an actual message and actual art that actually need to be highlighted. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. I hope that there's more people, there's more fans that will sort of appreciate and respect other fans that may not be expressing their support in the way that they're used to. You know, there's it may not be, I may not agree, and it may not be my cup of tea. I may not be as obsessive as they are, but I do appreciate what they bring to the table. And if there are people who are just plain rude and harsh and that are just there just because there's so much hate in themselves, I don't think hating on them is the way to go about it. It's more compassion. That's what BTS would do. That's what I believe that they would do, and that's what I believe they would express towards these people. And so that's what I will try to do and have been trying to do. It's not always that way for me, of course. There are sometimes, you know, some people catch me on a bad time. Of course, I'm going to react differently, but I try as often as I can. Yeah, and then if you have other questions, feel free to get in touch with me here. You can email me, you can talk to me on Instagram or on Twitter, and I will try my very best to answer. Thank you.